So, my name is Ned. This right here, this is my dog Jai. And today we're going to be talking about alerts in Databricks. Now, if you've never heard of them, you can go ahead and you can create one by navigating to this alerts section of the Databricks UI under the SQL header right here. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves and click that create alert button, we need to understand what they are. And I promise you, it's just as simple as it sounds. They're alerts that occur when a specific condition or criteria is hit. And when that condition or that criteria is hit, what Databricks can go ahead and do is it can send out an email to a specific user, or it can notify a specific destination. And that destination can be something like Slack, Teams, Pager, and it's running and checking these conditions via a simple SQL statement. And on top of that, you can not only run this check with a SQL query by scheduling it, you also can trigger it via like a Databricks job workflow, which means you can essentially load your data and then check your data. So it's a really powerful tool in terms of data quality. So I've huffed and puffed enough already. Let's go ahead and let's create our first alert. And I'm going to do that by clicking the create alert button. Who guessed it, right? Like it's pretty simple. And the first thing that it's going to want us to do is it's going to want us to define a query. Now, I don't have much data loaded into my Databricks free schema. So I'm going to go ahead and I am just going to select star from my customers workspace or from my dev workspace customers table. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. And what you'll see is it'll start my simple serverless warehouse here they give you for free as part of the Databricks free edition, and it'll execute the query. Once the query is executed, I'll get the green light to go ahead and move on to the next section. And if you can't tell, I am talking here because my query is running, and there we go. All right. So now that we have had the green light, we can set a condition. And this condition can be a few different things, but it's typically going to be an aggregation against a specific column, and then a simple evaluation right here for that data quality, or you could set it to either a static value or another aggregation. So the idea here, right, is that you could sum a column and say, hey, if it's too far off the standard deviation of the previous days, right, call this alert. But we're going to start with something much simpler for this test. We are just going to go ahead and we're going to say first row, tax ID is null, right? And we'll run that and we'll go ahead and we'll test this condition. And what we'll see is that it will be triggered because the tax ID in this customer table, I believe, is null for all the records. But let's just confirm that by letting it go. And there we go. We can see that it triggered, right? So the first row was null. And we can schedule this data quality check to run either every one, all the way down to 12 hours, minutes, days. Very granular scheduling. And then finally, once we've scheduled it to run, we can select a user to notify. In this case, I am the only user in this workspace, so it can only ever notify me. So it'll send me an email whenever this data alert runs and is triggered. And then right here, we can set some specific behaviors on, okay, once the alert is triggered, do we want to send a notification if the alert no longer is? And then do we want to continue to run this every single day, even if the data alert is failing? And you can even then, for example, customize the template here that it is using when it's letting you know that there's an alert. Now, one thing that I do want to draw attention here is that it's asking for destinations. So you might have noticed when I went here to notifications, it asked me for my email, but then there's also an option to input a destination. So what is that? Well, if you go over here and you go into settings, and if you have control of your workspace settings, you can go over here to notifications, and then you can create notification destinations. Now, when you click the add a destination button, you then get the option to add a few different destinations. Now, that destination could be something as simple as an email, a Slack message, a webhook, PagerDuty or Teams. But this webhook piece in particular allows for some really interesting kind of configurations or alert chains. Now, I live in the business intelligence world, not necessarily the data engineering world. I'm one of those people that's always kind of lived in the gray area between the business and the various domain data teams, like the data science teams and the data engineering teams. So, how might I use this SQL alert functionality? Well, I've used it to check my own work. So I'll create alerts on tables and views that I will have gone off and engineered because I think I'm a much better data engineer and manipulator than I actually am. And then I've also used it to kind of provide me sanity that when, hey, I'm going to publish out this dashboard to an executive, I know that it's correct because my alert hasn't triggered. So, with that, I hope that is a good introduction to alerts in Microsoft Databricks. And if you're interested in business intelligence content, actually mainly Microsoft Power BI, but I'm starting to kind of branch into Databricks, please subscribe and like this video. Thanks for watching.